Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to Post-Match Raw. I am not Trev because he prematurely threw his new TV out the window, worrying the worst, but I'm here to cover. But if you are actually worrying where Trev is, he hurt his back and he had to have a session, but the only time he could do it was whilst the game was on. But Trev will be back. Are Liverpool back, Dave? How are you?
I'm good. First things first, let me give a sincere apology to James Milner, who I had very serious doubts about before the game. But I thought he had a very, very good game today. The best game Milner's had for Liverpool in years, frankly. Potentially as far back as the year we won the European Cup. He was very, very good, but he was very good in a team that was very good, a team that was very well organised, a team that was very diligent, a team that worked incredibly hard. Today I thought Gomez and Van Dijk were at their best. Virgil looked like Virgil of old. Robbo was at Robbo's best. Fab and Thiago in midfield got through an incredible amount of work. And the two wingers, I think, need special mention here. I think Jota, I said it on Scouted, put Jota on Cancelo. That's how it ended up working, even though Cancelo was playing right back rather than where we expected him at left back. I thought he was excellent. I thought Harvey Elliott had his best game for Liverpool in terms of off-the-ball work.
The complete package, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought we just really shut them down. And the two boys up front harassed and harangued their centre-backs all game long, never gave them a moment's peace. And we were able to carve open some really good chances in that game. Now, they weren't clear-cut chances, but you know the one where Ederson makes the save, the one that falls to Robbo, although, you know, I don't think anyone really expected to score.
It's not a chance if it's Robbo.
But it still opened up, and then obviously Darwin had a couple of half chances as well. So, and there was the Jota header. I think we created the better chances. Like I'm struggling to really think of a clear chance they had. They obviously had a goal disallowed, and it was rightly disallowed, and we'll get into that. But all in all, like, this team have let us down over and over again this season, but today they just turned up. That was the best performance by a Liverpool team this season. From minute 1 to minute 99, or however long it went, I just thought everybody, including the subs when they came on, put in a proper shift and just nullified City. And, you know, I'd like to extend an offer to Manchester City. If you want your cyborg back, well, Virgil and Joe are very happy with their new pet, but for £1 billion, we'll send them on up the road.
Exactly, because they will have to share them, a week each, then swap on Sundays.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward, that is.
It is. It's a bit of a fuck on that, to be fair. But we also have Jim with us, who we've discovered is Raw's new mascot because he keeps winning games for us. Jim, take your victory lap.
Yeah, I mean, 2 games, 2 wins. I mean, it's been hard trying to get myself into the team and that, but when I've got in, no, I mean, you can't take credit for that. What you can take credit for today is an incredible team remembering that they're an incredible team. That's what's happened. And it shouldn't take a game against Man City for them to remember that they're an incredible team, and it shouldn't take demoralising defeats on the way to this game to remember that. But, you know, they got a good reminder midweek against Rangers, which people might have said, oh, it's only Rangers. But today, the scoreline may not have been 7-1, but the performance was as good, if not better than that in midweek. And that's how you get back into things. It's delightful.
Yeah, and I suppose the question is, Jim, I mean, do you think this is the starting point of the season properly now? Because we had Bournemouth kind of became a false dawn, Ajax, false dawn. But do you think this really is now, hopefully, the point we start? Because we have West Ham Wednesday, Not sure we have then. I think the Champions League's back, but that performance, as you both have said, is probably our most complete of the season. Certainly the most combative and most Liverpool-like. But is this what we have to hope now? Is that this is season starts now? Let's see what we can salvage from it. Maybe too late for the title, but let's get top four and let's build into the Champions League.
Yeah, I think it's got to be the start. I mean, we've got to stop leaking goals. We've got to stop letting other teams score first. We did that in midweek. And, if you do that, you end up like a Brendan Rodgers team, unfortunately, where you'll concede goals and you'll get some back, and some games you'll score more than them, and it's all very exciting. But then at the end of the season, it doesn't add up to enough points. And yeah, I mean, there's no point whatsoever us talking about league titles and the chances of winning them. But all you can do is go out for every single game and play to the best that you can and get those results, get those wins. And then who knows where you're going to be by the end of the season. Until a few years ago, you could probably lose 6 games in a league season and still win the league. We've had phenomenal points totals this last few seasons. Ironically, as we're sort of fighting to get them, we would have won the league more than we have based on previous seasons' point totals with the points we've had in recent seasons. So we can't talk about winning the league, but we've got to get in there and fight, and we've got to make sure we're in the Champions League places, give everyone else a problem. We've given City a problem today. I like what Klopp said in midweek. He said this could still be a title decider, but it won't be us who's, not deciding it for us. And it could be true, but there's these few games to play, this horrendous fixture pile-up that we're going to have between now and the World Cup. Then football goes off to do that stupid thing in Qatar for a bit. And then when it comes back, you're hoping all your players are fit. And, Boxing Day, I think we start back, don't we? And, Happy Christmas, Liverpool. Let's hope for that, because this shows what we can do. I think one note I sort of wrote down at half-time and some half-time thoughts, and this was before we'd scored clearly, was if you'd have been on a desert island for the last few months, didn't have a clue what had gone on this season, but you kind of seen the end of last season, you'd have assumed today's game and today's performance in that first half was a Liverpool side battling with City for the top spot. You wouldn't have thought that Liverpool, before the game kicked off, were in the bottom half of the table, which they were, and because of those performances. So hopefully wherever was wrong is fixed, wherever the issue was, whether it was psychological or what, I don't know. But I think today there was a bit of adversity, as I'm sure we'll mention when we talk about the lineups, which could have made a lot of people panic when they saw them. But in the end, that has sort of got the best out of us.
And Dave, I'll start with you with them lineups, because as Jim said there, Liverpool proved that Liverpool is still in there somewhere. And the team we went with was, I don't know why FlashScore has us in black and Man City in red. Thanks for that. That's just annoying me.
I don't know why Man City weren't in blue, though, so there you go.
Well, that's true. Puma just whacking out the worst kits imaginable at this stage. But we had Alisson, Milner at right back, which you said earlier, Dave. Gomez, Van Dijk, Robbo, Thiago, Fab, Elliott, Salah, Bobby and Jota. But that's lined up as a 4-3-3, but we were more in a 4-2-4, a 4-4-2. We're obviously, you got the news last night that Ibu was a doubt via Carl, and you said we might as well call off the game. You've heaped praise on Milner there already.
Yeah.
But by extension, Gomez as well, because last time he started the game in centre-back was obviously Napoli. Yeah, and he was obviously tortured by Kavica and Simeon, etc. But them two, I mean, locking down the the right-hand side, I should say, with Foden was probably their best outlet on the day, I'd probably say. But them two, probably the big concerns coming in, but they had probably the best games in years, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I mean, Joe wasn't really a concern to me because we know how good Joe is. Joe is just a lad that hasn't played enough football in recent years, but he had a pretty good game against Rangers. He had a pretty good outing against Arsenal, and you could see him starting to get a little bit of sharpness back into himself. Today, I just thought from the first whistle, he looked absolutely right on it. But so much of what happens to us defensively depends on the big Dutch fella. And he's obviously been well off his level this season. And when he's not on his level, he's still good. He's just not otherworldly. When he's otherworldly, he raises the level of everybody else. And I thought we saw that today. I thought Virgil was at his best today, or at least very, very close to it. And when he's doing that, I think it just gives a bit of inspiration to those around him. And I thought Gomez matched him stride for stride. I thought he was absolutely tremendous. And like we said, Milner, just a really, really good performance. Now, in a way, Pep's tactical setup helped us, and we'll talk a bit more about that when we come to City. But I just thought all our lads, there was a level of aggression with our players and a level of the dreaded word intensity right from the first whistle. And I was thinking after about 15 minutes, I was going to put it into the scouted WhatsApp, that it was the best 15 minutes we'd had to start a game, other than the weird game against Bournemouth, obviously. But we just looked like we were absolutely right up for the game. Now, the other big news, obviously, other than Milner right back, was that the captain was dropped.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he did all right when he came on, but you saw the difference when he's not there. The defensive intensity is much higher. Everybody's far more diligent. There's nobody not doing their job. There's no big holes in our team. Jurgen hopefully understands why we were so good defensively and carries that forward. I think it just, from minute one, we just looked like we were up for it. And I felt like they sort of got a bit of a shock that maybe they thought they were coming to Anfield for a more straightforward game.
A stroll in the park.
Yeah, I mean, like, with respect, they're the best team we faced this season. They're a better football. Well, Napoli I would put right up there. But that City team is better than the Arsenal team that beat us.
Mm-hmm.
And they were better today than Arsenal were. We just played awful against Arsenal, and we were really good today. And as bad as the referee was today, he wasn't quite as corrupt as the referee was in the Arsenal game. So while he had one big decision to make and he went and checked and he got it right in the end, the fella last week didn't check any of them. He got the three big decisions in the game wrong. The Saka offside, the handball by Gabriel, and obviously the Jesus dive. Today, the referee went and looked at the screen and put his hands up and said, right, I got that wrong, and went and gave the right decision. So, I don't know as he was, at least he wasn't as bad as the fella last week.
But he still gives evil looks to the VAR guy, though. The
100%.
VAR guy for calling him out on it. He couldn't. He had to overturn it.
I think it was the same guy on VAR, though, wasn't it? It just sums up the refereeing shit show.
But the fellow we had last week is known. He has. Yeah. It was someone had the story about it. He has gone to VARs after games and absolutely read them the riot act for making him look bad by having him go and look at screens to overturn the decisions that he's gotten wrong. He does not want to work within the confines of VAR. At least today, the referee was willing to go and have a look. He'd obviously got a couple of other decisions very, very wrong.
We'll come to them, don't worry.
When he was told, go and look at this, he went and looked at it. Last week, the fella wouldn't listen.
Yeah, that's a really good point about Michael Oliver, who seems to be so far up his own arse, he might give himself a red card. But Jim, I'll come to the other end of the pitch for you, because we obviously kept our 4-4-2-ish shape, whatever the hell we're going to call it, going forward. Mo, I mean, Dave mentioned the importance of Virgil and the two on the right side there, but Mo, he obviously didn't score 4 goals or whatever in 6 minutes, but he loves playing against Man City, and I reckon Ruben Diaz and João Cancelo, etc., they must just be sick of the sight of this bloke, because every time he does turn up against Man City, and we'll obviously come on to play-by-play stuff with the goal, etc., but he looked like a player transformed in this, his old new role.
Yeah, it did, and it's so refreshing to see, because when you look at the team lineup, when you look at the front three, you think, all right, he's going to be Salah in his usual spot wide, and maybe Jota will do the other wide one, and Bobby will be in the middle, and in a way, it was just a different way of playing. But they're all so quick, so flexible, so sensible that you really don't know where they're going to end up. That's the kind of, if you like, the starting positions, if you like, but then they'll turn up where they need to and go wide when they need to and so on. And it sounds so sort of simplified to sort like that, but this upsets defenders, because they don't know where to go. But with Salah, I mean, God, his pace is back, his touch is back, his confidence is back, his attitude is back. He just loves to score goals, and he's forgotten. Again, I keep talking about this sort of amnesia the Liverpool have had, and he kind of forgotten how good he is as well, and that was proved today. I like the way, in a way, that Hendo was taken out of this midfield. I think the midfield that we picked today, you'd have picked 2 of those definitely if it was down to you. And then Elliot, the way he's starting to go into games now, he's fingers crossed. This is a really good sign for the future with him. But those front three, yeah, they were the choice to make. I think Nunez is still getting himself up to speed.
We saw the rawness when he came on, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. So you don't put him in on a game like this. He's got to earn his place. Doesn't matter what you cost, you earn your place in this team, and he'll do that. I feel he will. And maybe he's going to get us, as we'll come to later. Maybe he's going to get an earlier chance because of what's happened to Jota. But even so, you've got to earn your place in this side. And today, I think all that starting lineup earned the place in the side. I'm sure it'll be changed if people get fit. But you can't drop anyone out of that side on performance, at least today. But definitely up front, wow. We saw it the other night with Salah. It's like he's back. He's back. The player we had before he signed his new deal is back.
Absolutely. Even if you went further back to just before AFCON, it's probably the first time we've seen that type of performance from him. But Dave, I'll quickly go through the City team here because there's not loads of shocks there. They lined up as a 4-3-3, but it seemed to merge into a 3 at the back as the game went on. But they've got it listed here as Ederson, Cancelo, Diaz, Akanji, Aki, Gundogan, Rodri, De Bruyne, Silva, Haaland, Foden. But as I said, it looked like Akanji shifted over basically right centre-back, right back at times, and Cancelo just had the freedom to attack. And Foden, similarly on the left side, but a bit further on. And Akanji's not very good.
No, he had a bit of a rough game. You're right when you say they did switch into a 3 at the back with Akanji, Diaz and Aki, and then Cancelo sort of all the right flank to himself, Foden most of the left flank to himself, Rodri sitting in front of the back 3, De Bruyne, and then sort of Bernardo or Gundogan yeah. Sort of roaming around, and then the other one sort of playing up off Haaland. And
De Bruyne was very high, wasn't he? It was very
high at times. Really, really high. Like far too high for where you want him in a game. I thought Guardiola's tactical approach was a bit strange. Like, for me, we saw what Phil Foden could do to Milner last year, and this year he played him like off Milner, didn't get him up one-on-one with him. I don't think we saw Foden run at Milner at all today. He was getting it, giving it, moving on, they were trying to play that angled ball back in behind Milner, but between Milner, Harvey tracking back, and Gomez coming across, we were able to shut that down. And they weren't able to get those trademark, angled pullback crosses that they try and manufacture over and over and over again. I thought their tactical approach was weird. I thought Guardiola's refusal to make a substitution until 80-odd was weird. I thought it was hilarious that he had a £100 million attacker sitting on the bench and never even looked at him. For anyone that wants to claim that move hasn't been an absolute fiasco, there's your evidence. I mean, you're away at your biggest rival. You're 1-0 down. You've got a £100 million player sitting on the bench who's an attacking player. You're bringing off Gundogan, who's been playing in the areas that surely you would want Jack Grealish, and you don't even consider him. Like, it wasn't like a thing you sent him out to warm up. He just sat there. They'd Riyad Mahrez with the 65 million just chilling on the bench, and meanwhile we're filling our bench with lads that we're praying we don't have to play. Lad that, we tried to sell all summer, and a couple of goalkeepers and whatever else.
That proves, just quickly on the way that Klopp's had some stick for complaining about City having all the money, because obviously, as you posted the other day, Dave, it's not just about transfer fees, it's about wages, and it's also about the depth of squad.
The whole thing. That's the thing. But here's the other thing with them, Jim. So we bought Ox for near 40 million and Naby for near 60, right? There's 100 million. Mm-hmm. Neither of them have worked out because of injuries, not because they're not good enough, but because of injuries. They're still here. We can't afford to replace them. The replacement for them has largely been James Milner, who's nearly 38 years of age or 37 years of age and was at the club before them. Whereas with City, things don't work out. Oh, they just go and buy another £60 million player or another £40 million player. Like, they don't have the concerns we have. When they bought Claudio Bravo, he was like the 4th or 5th most expensive keeper in the world at the time. He flopped. So they immediately went and broke the world record transfer fee for a goalkeeper. Now, obviously, we would then break that and Chelsea would break it further. But they can afford to do those things. Like when Benjamin Mendy, now forgetting what's going on at the minute, when he was signed for 50-odd million and he flopped, they just went and bought João Cancelo for 60-odd million.
Yeah.
You know, when John Stones, a £50 million signing, was deemed not good enough to partner Laporte, they went and bought a £60 million Ruben Diaz. They needed a backup for Fabinho, for Rodri, so they dropped 45 million on Calvin Phillips, who's barely kicked a ball for them all season.
Even Aki
and
was
they
40
haven't
mil.
had to worry about it.
Aki was 40 mil.
Aki, 40 million for a fourth centre back. Like Akanji's a great example, right? So the 2021 season, we're defending league champions. We lose Virgil in October, then we lose Joe. Both season-ending injuries. We get to January, we're not long off being top of the league. We're still in the mix to retain the title. And then Matip gets hurt. So we have no senior centre-backs. We're playing Jordan Henderson, who's a midfielder, and Nat Phillips, a player we couldn't give away the previous summer. We go out in that transfer window and we sign Ozan Kabak on loan and Ben Davies for 1.5 million from Preston. Now, these are long-term season-ending injuries we have to our three centre-backs. So we need someone to come in and play for basically 5 months. Aymeric Laporte got hurt in pre-season to be out 2 months. He's already back. He played the other night. They signed Akanji for 15 million and add-ons to replace a 2-month injury. We can't do that. This is what Klopp is talking about. Yeah. And then you factor in the wages. Like Haaland, 865 grand a week. City fans can cry about it all they want. When Mike Keegan of the Daily Mail came out and reported that they were signing Haaland, that they had that deal done and dusted, all of them sat at home with the lube and the tissues, having a good old fiddle with themselves. But when Mike Keegan, the same Mike Keegan, comes out and says Haaland is earning 865 grand a week, he's not reliable.
Yeah.
Well, it's one or the other. He either is or he isn't. He can't be just reliable when it's news you like. Like, I get that City fans are very Trumpish, where they only want to hear what actually, works for them, and they do similar type of things, like, lie about a lot of stuff. But you're paying Erling Haaland 865 grand a week to play football. That Haaland deal over 5 years, if he stays, will cost you 340 million. If Darwin Núñez stays the entire 6 years that we signed him, he'll cost over £200 million less. And we control Darwin 6 years because he's got no buyout. Haaland has a buyout clause. He can walk in 2 years. So this is the type of thing Klopp is talking about. When Klopp said in the summer, we can't be involved in trying to sign Haaland, he wasn't talking about the fee. He was talking about the 20 million to his father, the 30 million to Mino Raiola's agency, may Mino rest in peace, the 20 million to Haaland as a signing bonus, and then this absolutely astronomical salary. That's what he was talking about.
Yeah, people forget that when there's a budget that clubs have for players, whether it's not just the transfer fee, it's all the agencies, it's the wages, it's the rest of it. And the lower the transfer fee, the club aren't going to pay less overall.
And the other thing, Jim, as well is, right, City fans love to say, well, Liverpool's wage bill is almost the same as ours. Our wage bill that we declare is our actual wage bill, including everything, bonuses, all staff, and I mean all staff. Like from the fella who manages the team, to the fella that runs the club from the very top, to the lad who cuts the grass, to the fella who does security at the training ground, to the people in the kitchen, all staff, all the directors, everybody is included in our wage bill. Manchester City's wage bill is not done like that. It is the base wage of the playing staff only, because the managers and the coaches and everybody at the academy, they're not signed to Manchester City Football Club. They're signed to the City Football Group.
I'm just thinking, remember Pep's press conference when some accusations were made about him being paid maybe via a sponsor, and he got very uppity about it, but we never heard any clarification on that.
No,
because we never got an actual denial.
They're paying Pep, say, 15 million a year through Manchester City Football Club. They're paying Haaland 400 grand a week through the football clubs. That's 20 million a year. So their wage bill will show 20 million for Haaland, 15 for Pep. All the rest is done through City Football Group and all these fake sponsors that they've made up. So they're back channeling money to these players. It's not declared on the wage bill. And that's what Klopp is talking about. He's talking about the under-the-counter payments that these people are getting.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we can't compete. Yeah, we probably could have paid Haaland 400 grand a week. We could have stretched to that if we'd wanted to. That wasn't the issue. The issue was the 20 million to his dad for having functioning testicles, the 30 million to the agent, the 20 million to him, the 460 grand a week in bonuses, and so on and so forth. This is what Klopp is talking about. And until we have real discourse and real discussion about this, football is fucked. Mm-hmm. They have ruined football because it's not just about the transfer fees. It's about the way they're inflating wages. Teams can't compete with them. We can laugh at United. Oh, United have spent more money than City over the last years, yada, yada. But the wages, even though United's wage bill is out of control, isn't as out of control as City's. Like when Haaland's 22, he's accomplished nothing in the game. And he on his own earns more money than Van Dijk, Thiago and Mo Salah, including their bonuses. He earns more on his own than three of the best, most accomplished players in the world who've won absolutely everything there is to win at club level. Now, just let that sink in for a second. What's he going to be demanding at 27, 28? 2 million a week? 3 million a week? Mm-hmm. Who knows? And they'll give it to him.
Didn't Foden just get 350 grand or something like that this week?
Do you know? And here's the thing.
He plays for the love of the club as well, doesn't he?
Of course he does. Of course, Manchester through and through. But other clubs are going to have to wake up to this as well. Because if Arsenal can't get Bukayo Saka to agree to a new deal, or Saka's in negotiations, and he's looking at Foden and thinking, well, hang on a sec now. I would consider Phil Foden a peer. We're on the same level. I want that kind of money. Arsenal can't pay him that money. So now you'll never hear a bad word from Arteta about City, because obviously he can't say a bad word about his daddy. But Arsenal are going to be outraged. When Spurs had the Harry Kane situation last season, if Conte had been manager, you best believe he'd have been speaking out. Potter's too new in the job, and Chelsea have too much of a track record of, doing shady, underhanded things as well. But we need the top managers in this country to actually speak out. And the one I'd put faith in doing it at some point is Antonio Conte, to come out like Klopp and say, this needs to stop. Those three clubs that are owned by countries, City, Newcastle and PSG, they're ruining football. And again, I know people don't want to hear it, but this is why the Super League was not the shit idea that you think it was. This is why the Super League was not the horrendous thing that Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher shouted at because their jobs at Sky would have been under threat. This is what the Super League was aimed at, to rein back in this type of spending, to put real restrictions in place so that club accounts, if you were entering the Super League, one of the things you would have to agree to was that your accounts were properly audited each and every year by an independent group managed by the Super League.
I've just seen, it's not a different sport, and we should probably go off this tangent soon, I guess, but Formula One, a sport that's the favourite rich man's plaything kind of a sport, that's been doing a lot about cost control. And one of the team that won the championship last time was under scrutiny because it went over a cost cap. So they have an overall cost cap. They all get the same cap, and however they spend it is up to them. And there's certain things that obviously they're going to try it out, but they all had to be audited too. And if that sport can think, hang on, we've got to try and make things a bit more of a level playing field. Not everyone will get the money even to get up to the cost cap maybe, but even then they'll put an upper limit on it. It's up to them whether they pay the drivers more, pay the strategists more, whatever they want to do. It's about the overall costs. And
you've got a finite amount of money and you decide how to spend it.
Yeah.
It's difficult, obviously, to do any kind of salary cap when you've got promotion and relegation. But again, it's something the Super League were going to do. They were going to cap transfer fees. They were going to cap wages. They were going to cap managers' wages. They were going to cap spending and make it so that it was an even, like you said, everybody has a cost allowance. You can spend it this way. And maybe there would have been an exception. Maybe, for example, you've got a salary cap of, let's say it's 350 million, but you've got a player of your own that's come through your academy. So let's say we're right at the salary cap but Trent is up for an extension. Well, he came through our academy, so you could make an exception that you can go over your cap for academy-produced players. Same thing with City and Foden, Arsenal and Saka, Spurs and Kane, United and Rashford, etc., etc., etc. And that is a way that teams could pay players that bit more. But I mean, does anyone really need to be earning? Does anybody, and I mean anybody on the planet, need to be earning that type of money?
No, and if they weren't offering the money, they wouldn't be leaving their clubs to go and get that money because money wouldn't be there at the other club. So
exactly, everybody would be on an even playing field. There'd be no more of these sagas of players. The only players that would try and force moves were the players at clubs who aren't in the Super League. But I mean, that's just the food chain, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
it's basically the same already. But more out of control. But we will get to the game, albeit that is a very important topic and was worthy of discussion. The start of the game is quite general. We started quite well for about 15 minutes, then Man City came back into it. Bobby seemed to lose the ball a couple times. Certainly grew into the game after that point, no. Gundogan has a shot from the edge. I think like 5 people try to tackle Haaland and then nobody does. And then he seemed to go quiet after that. And Jim, I'll come to you. I think it's about the 20th minute or 19th minute. Mo just goes on one of them runs. And I think that's probably the moment people realise, well, Mo's up for this game. Obviously, I came to you earlier that he was into it. But it was nice that in the early stages, it was a very combative game. Because I think most people thought it was going to be, we may have to sit back, defend for our lives. And it may have turned into that at points of the game, but certainly in the first 20-25 minutes, it was almost like the Man City Liverpool games where it is just end-to-end basketball at times.
Yeah, it was. It felt like that. I mean, I think for the first half hour, we maybe had more control of the game than I'd expected us to have going into the game in my very sort of pessimistic frame of mind. But I don't know. I was quite confident about this game that we could, if we did our best, we could do something, and that is what we did. I think I'd written just before that Salah moment that Haaland was looking a bit like an old clogger of a forward, because at times that's kind of how we'd made him look. We were making him sort of stretch a bit more for things, and just sort of getting him out of the game. And it doesn't help when he looks a bit. To me, he looks like Mel Smith in a wig, and I don't know why. I can't get that image out of my head, but. As you say, it was good. That run from Salah, I think there was a bit of strength from Jota to start with, who just sort of controlled, got the ball, let Salah through. It was a great run, and it ended in a corner, which, on another day, maybe it would have been an early start to the changing of the goal scoring, the score sheet. But it doesn't matter. It was a sign of intent from us. It just felt like this was the beginning of it, that we could now start showing them what we can do. You're always worried with Liverpool about the back, but we didn't really need to worry about the back today. If only we'd known that at 19, I wouldn't have been getting these high heart rate notifications on my watch. It was a sign that we were what we could do. We could open them up, and I think the more we let them attack us, the more we found it we could get them on the break, and that could be something we should try to look at doing more often, because far too often we're the team that does all the attacking and gets caught on the break. And today I think we did let them come at us quite a bit. Maybe we didn't let them, maybe they just did, but either way it gave us these opportunities on the break, and when they're in that kind of form, there's going to come a chance at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think our first proper chance is a Jota header. I think he just jumps a bit too soon. He obviously has the other header we will come on to later. Dave, I'll come to you for the remaining of the first half. Van Dijk has a fantastic pass for a diagonal, and that's the one where it ends up with the Robertson shot. More bullies Diaz. I alluded to that earlier. He always seems to do that with Diaz. That's the one where Elliot kind of gets lost. And just bless him. City have probably their first good move of the game, where De Bruyne drops a bit deeper rather than being stood next to Haaland. Passes it through to Haaland. Then Foden doesn't have a shot, and Bilver sends it over the bar. And then probably their next big chance is where Haaland tries to chip Ali. Yeah, so City did seem to kind of grow into the game after the 30-minute mark there, Dave. But as I said, it was kind of end-to-end, but we relatively limited Haaland and co. I mean, other than that chip, he didn't have much chances.
No, he didn't have anything. That was the first real involvement that he had in the game. He dropped off a couple of times, and got the ball to feet and laid it off and spun in behind and made a run. The ball never came to him because Gomez and Virgil were just, I thought, absolutely lights out with the defensive work. One in front, one behind every single time, not giving him any time on the ball, giving him little nudges here and there whenever he tried to spin and run. And like you said, that chance where he tries to chip Ali. Now, I did have palpitations now when I saw where Ali was standing. There was no real need for you to be there, Ali, but look, it is what it is, and it worked out for us. I thought you mentioned Salah bullying Diaz, and there was a few moments we had where our lads bullied their lads. Thiago bullied Gundogan at one point. Bobby put Rodri on his backside with a little nudge of the shoulder. Harvey got snapped in on Foden at one point and took the ball off him and just, created a little yard of space and gave it off. And I just thought we looked like we were far more like
ready for the scrap,
ready for a fight. Yeah, and I said this on Scouted to Carl. There's something about this team when Andy Robertson is Andy Robertson, and when he's right up for it. And we saw, was it Silva jumped into him and he got up and he shoved him and he just turned away and started gesturing for the ball. And you could see their lads were a little bit rattled, like, oh, they're pushing us, ref. They started complaining to the ref that there was a push.
It was 2 minutes in, wasn't it? Silva tried to kill Robbo, basically. He told him what he thought of him, got the ball and wanted to get on with the game, and
that's exactly it. And I don't think they liked that. I don't think that City team liked the physical battle. I think that's where we've always had the edge on them, because we have lads that are really physical, really quick, really powerful, and we have lads like Andy Robertson, and I thought Jota in front of him as well, loads of needle about their game, like happy to get stuck in the mud and have a scrap with you.
Even like Real last year, you saw it.
Real last year as well. And I do think as well, like the crowd properly feeds off someone like Andy Robertson. They love that type of thing. Like the biggest cheers James Milner's ever gotten at Anfield, and not when he scored a penalty, they're when he's like absolutely laying out Neymar and whoever else, like when he just lumbers in and batters somebody. Nat Phillips, the reason the Anfield crowd loved him was because he'd throw his head into things. He's obviously levels below what we need, but he would do things, or he'd get in someone's face and it would properly get the crowd going, and then the team can feed off that. So it's this continuous cycle of the team feeds off the fans, the fans feed off the team feeds off the fans, and so on and so forth. And that's the magic of Liverpool under Klopp. That's how we've been great. It's why we were a bit shit when there was no fans in the stadium, because we need the fans. City play a cold, calculated, surgical type of football. They don't need the fans there. In fact, they'd probably prefer if the fans weren't there, because it'd be more like the Etihad, where it's just pin drop silence the whole game. But I thought Robbo today, I thought he really set the tone for a physical, fighting Liverpool, which we haven't seen this season, and it was great to see them back.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
It really was, and I think Robertson maybe especially, I think people had that discussion whether Tsimikas might be turning into the guy at left back, but I think we saw, especially today, maybe it was just the occasion of Man City or whatever, but we saw the difference where Robbo's just relentless. I think you could argue Tsimikas is a similar level of footballer, but in terms of just being a shit out and bringing the extra thing, I think Robbo's just that. And I've probably give him the edge in the defensive work as well, to be fair. But yeah, I think that's where Robbo and other players like that bring the difference as well. But we'll finish the first half. Jim, we have an Anthony Taylor reminder. I think it's like the first big foul on Moore. Not as bad as the one where someone took his top off him, basically, but we'll come on to that later. Haaland has probably one of his chances of the game. I think he loses. Gomez loses him for a second weak header, I think. And yeah, just that first half, I think it went as well as anyone could have expected, because it wasn't going to be one of them games where we pissed through them 3-0 with the way we were playing. But I think at half time, everyone was like, we can fucking go and win this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought the first half, I still have that little voice in my head saying, yeah, we can go and win this, but we can just as easily go and screw something up and let them in. And then it becomes a bit more of a mountain to climb. But even then, I was thinking, but fuck it, we'll climb the mountain the way we're playing today. If we do that to ourselves, we will climb that mountain. But it was just, I mean, I wrote the word tenacious defending from LFC. I cannot remember what was happening, but I must have been really enjoying it at the time, just coming to the end of that half. It was there was another bit where Haaland got that, where I think was an easy header, but straight into Ali's hands. And I say an easy header for him. And the reputation he's got, that should, as they say, should have scored. And I hate that saying, but in his case, maybe it's true. It was a strange ending to the half though as well. I think it started just to go quiet the last few minutes, as if both sides were kind of wary of sort of going, too much into it, and that gave the sad moment for the City fans to start singing the national anthem. And I am convinced they did sing "God Save the Queen," because they all got mixed up with it. And it's just sad. I mean, why do that? Is that the best, wittiest thing that you can come up with?
Thing is, I
know you're not used to singing.
Thing is, someone made the point. We played Rangers twice, and they didn't even do that. So what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, Rangers did do the national anthem actually, I think,
they?
But right. Yeah, but I mean, they had all their other songs to sing, didn't they? I mean, they've got a repertoire of
fans.
They've got plenty of hateful songs to sing, haven't they? I'm sure. Whereas City, I don't know. It's just sad to see. It really is for them.
I genuinely don't know that there's a City chant that I'd know if I heard it, other than Blue Moon. And that's it. Like, that's kind of all they've got. I mean, most of the fans...
Jude, they use the well-known, from that well-known Manchester band. Hey Jude.
Yeah, that's a strange one. That's a real strange one, especially, if Bellingham does end up with us, I wonder, will that get binned off?
There's still the Poznan from Lech Poznan.
That's it, and then they had to abandon it because Poznan got pissed off about it.
The Colo Toure song, was that the last one?
Was the Colo Toure song not originally an Arsenal chant, though?
Was it?
I was thinking that.
I think it was. I think the Colo Toure thing was originally an Arsenal chant.
Yeah.
And City, when they got both of them, just nicked the song and then expanded it. As far as I know, it was an Arsenal song. But in fairness, most of City's fans were Arsenal and Spurs and Chelsea fans before City got all the money and started winning stuff. So I mean, you don't expect plastic fans to know songs and stuff.
Very true.
No, I think that they had some decent fans back when they got relegated, because they stayed with. And to be fair to those fans, I always think they're the fans of theirs that I'm sort of happy for, as much as you can be as a fan of another club, that they're winning things. But as you say, they've become an absolute minority now.
I mean, my stepfather's one of them. My stepfather used to go to Main Road all the time. Him and his best mate. I think they may be the only two Man City fans in our town. One of them, your man has a son, and he's a City fan as well. But other than them, I'm not sure there are any real City fans. They'd have grown up around the time of Francis Lee and Colin Bell and Mike Summerby, so that's where they would have gotten their fandom. In the same way, one of my stepfather's brothers is a Derby fan because of Francis Lee and obviously Brian Clough and that as well. Yeah. But they used to go to Main Road. And when they moved to the Etihad, they went there for years as well. But they said that it's the cost has become too much, and B, there's just no real atmosphere, because all of the old school fans that they would have known from the years ago to Main Road, firstly, when they moved stadium, they weren't all put together. The guy you sat next to, maybe on the kickbacks or stood next to for years and years, he was sitting over the far side of the stadium. Yeah. They split them all up, and then obviously more and more plastic fans and whatever else arrive. And then they give away so many free tickets for every home game as well. Other than the biggest games, there's tens of thousands of free tickets given away to school kids in Manchester and whatever else. Because a lot of the real City fans have turned their back, in the same way that I am of the belief that if the Saudi Arabian group that bought Newcastle had bought us, I am firmly of the belief that many people would have turned their back on Liverpool. And while they'd still be fans, they wouldn't go to the games anymore because they wouldn't want that association.
I think one thing that definitely would have happened if we'd have had that kind of take-up is that we'd have stood there, if we did go to the game, and we'd have made it clear that we did not approve of all these atrocities, and we'd have been spending so much time protesting against the owners, if not to get rid of the owners, but to get them to sort of recognise that it's time to change. But yeah, it would have been a horrendous thing to be a fan of a club owned by that kind of regime.
There's still China, lads, don't worry. We'll move on to the second half. And Dave, I'll come to you because it is a very eventful start to the second half. I'll start with the Salah 1v1 that he missed. It's just, I think it's Bobby who sends him through after a really nice interplay. Before that, we've seen this a million times. Moore tends to score these, but I think the shock here is that it's Ederson who saved it rather than he missed it. Because, albeit he gets overrated massively, I still wouldn't expect Ederson to make clutch saves like that. But fair play, it is a fantastic save for him.
It is a really good save. And the commentary team I watched just made the point, like, you do wonder with a goalkeeper, when they make a big save like that, but a goal kick is given rather than a corner, does it annoy them a little bit, like that their save hasn't actually been recognised? Now, obviously, it'll be recognised by their teammates and the staff and whatever else afterwards. But in that moment, they don't get that recognition of having made a big, big save. And a big save is their equivalent of scoring a goal. So it must be a little bit hard to take. Now, obviously, he spent a few minutes rolling around on the ground pretending to be injured. So maybe he didn't care. But it was a great save because Salah does everything right. He draws him. He keeps Ake on his back hip. And he has it. It's going in the bottom corner. And it's a lovely little flick by Ederson. And fair play. Fair play. He does very, very well.
And not bad for the second best Brazilian goalkeeper on the pitch. Jim, I'll come to you for the disallowed goal. God, it's an obvious foul on Fabinho, and I think Taylor was missing a few of them. We'll get to the most egregious towards the end of the game. But Ali clearly had two hands on it as well. I just don't understand. Obviously, we see Pep fucking going supernova at the end of this moment here. It's just, it seems like a pretty obvious decision. I mean, I think Dave mentioned it. Fair play for Taylor to overrule it like the bell end last week. But yeah, it seemed like a pretty obvious overturn to me, even though I was pissed off at the time.
I mean, the foul. It was given it was letting a lot of fouls go today, and some people say that's great because it keeps the game flowing, and I kind of get it to a certain extent. But something like that. I mean, I'm not a fan of wrestling. I never have been, I'm afraid. I know some people love it, and I'm certainly not a fan of it on the football pitch. And it's, this shirt tugging and stuff, it goes on too much, and players get away with it, and they know how to get away with it. And I think that's the issue for the referee, that once that goal's gone in, then you've got to look at it. The VAR has to look at it. And if you look at that, there's no two ways about it. That is a foul. Now, in a way, that maybe took the decision away from them, because that's not me in the background. If there was if you don't look at that, if you look at that foul and you say it's not a foul, then you've got to look at the next one, as you say. And maybe they didn't need to look at the next one. They were happy enough with that first one. But yeah, to me, he got the ball kicked out of his hands. It's dangerous play. It's not only a foul, it's dangerous play. I mean, I get it. You're a striker. You want to go for the ball. It's sort of instinctive to kick the hell out of that thing. But, you're in front of goal, etc., etc. But even so, it's dangerous play. And I've seen players booked for that kind of play in the past. He had it in his hands. Unfortunately, you weren't quick enough. Ali was. End of story. But yeah, to be fair, I think, I don't know whether Taylor, I don't know. I just don't understand why you let that foul go in the first place, to be honest. And he did sort of let a lot of things go in the game, but in that situation, you can't let them get away with that. But maybe that's the good thing about VAR, that if that kind of foul does lead to a goal, it's got to be looked at. And yeah, Withenshaw lost at that point.
Can I just interrupt the podcast to bring breaking news? Liverpool have released a statement following today's match against Manchester City at Anfield. Statement reads, "We are deeply disappointed to hear vile chants relating to football stadium tragedies from the away section during today's game at Anfield.
Well done.
The concourse in the away section was also vandalised with graffiti of a similar nature. We know the impact such behaviour has on the families, survivors and all those associated with such disasters. We are working with the relevant authorities, and we will also work with Manchester City in order to do our utmost to ensure these chants are eradicated from football altogether." That was published 15 minutes ago, and that is absolutely appalling carry on.
I heard the chants. I heard it's the usual, it kicks off with the always a victim stuff. It's never your fault and all the rest of it, which they know is hurtful. They know is hurtful. That is why they do it. It's like, I don't know, there's people who, if it was a racist chant, they'd be pulled up for it, wouldn't they? I'm not trying to sort of match the two things together, but either way, it's something cruel and designed to hurt people. It's something deliberately nasty and vindictive. And to be honest with you, it's got no place in sports, has it? People died. That could have been them. It could have been their families. If they were any good at the time, maybe it would have been. And that's just a little dig on the football side of it. But in truth, any club could have been a victim of what went on that day with those police and that FA. And the fact that, we're still waiting for justice completely for it, was we didn't ever really get it. But the truth is the one bit of justice we can get is that this never happens again. And it will happen again if you think it's something to laugh about.
Yeah, I think someone's just published some videos of it here. I won't do it on the podcast, obviously, but yeah, it looks pretty clear there. Yeah, we'll try and move on. I think Pep said he may have had coins thrown at him as well today. It's not.
As someone said, it's the first time he's ever complained about having money thrown at him.
It is. It's a good one, but yeah, it shouldn't be. He shouldn't be doing stuff like that. And I'm not comparing that to the Hillsborough stuff, because that is probably one idiot, whereas it's clearly a group. Well, it's not even just a group. This is the entire football fandom. It's not even just Man City. This goes on week to week.
It's that mentality, isn't it? And it's not helped by. It's this like anti-Scouse mentality, and it does really piss me off, to be honest, because if Liverpool was a nation, they'd all be in trouble within the FA world, if you like, for discrimination against someone because of their nation, because of their nationality. It's not a nationality, but it's an identity, and it's just nasty, and it's just not needed, and really it needs to be clamped down in society.
It's also incredibly ignorant, Jim, because do they have no awareness of where they're from? Like, you hear the obvious one is that you hear from a lot from Manx is bin dippers.
Yeah.
So you're laughing at poverty. Have you taken a look at the poverty numbers and the homeless numbers in your own city, perhaps?
Near your own ground.
Near your own ground, exactly. Like, it took a footballer born and raised in your city, to come out and help get starving children fed during a pandemic while the government failed, because that footballer could see the effects locally in the city of Manchester. It's the same thing I always say to the Londoners. Have you been in London recently? What parts of London do you go to? Because I can name you 7 or 8 places off the top of my head where the poverty, the homelessness, the drug problems, and all of that is absolutely eye-opening, and would absolutely break your heart to walk through some of those areas. Yes, the city of Liverpool has some issues in terms of poverty, in terms of homelessness, in terms of unemployment. So do every other major city in the world. Every other major city in the world. And what is this Tory behaviour of mocking, even if Liverpool was by far the poorest city in the world and had the most homeless and the most unemployed and all that, yada, yada, yada. What sort of Tory behaviour is it to sit there and mock that? Yeah. You're mocking somebody because they don't have a job or because they're hungry. Like, just take a second and think about what you're saying when you say these things. But tribalism in football is one of the biggest cancers we have in the game. And when you see these opposition fans, and I will say, a guy, it's not every single group. but it is most. But there are a couple of groups of fans that do come to Anfield, English fans from other Premier League clubs, and they're very, very respectful. They don't sing that shit. They come for a good day away, and the most hurtful thing they might say is, you know, where's your famous atmosphere, or whatever, how shit are you, we're winning away, or whatever, something like that. But they are football fans. City's group today have let themselves down and shown themselves to just be a gang of scumbags.
If they could take their heads out their own arses for a bit and actually have a look around themselves, they'd see, yes, there is poverty in Liverpool, but you know what? There's a lot of good in Liverpool, and there's a lot of good people, friendly people. And you know what? I've had such a good laugh down the years with fans of other clubs who've taken the time to sort of, if you like, infiltrate the pubs around Anfield. You know, they've taken that chance, which, you know, you might describe as brave, but it's not brave. They'll get the piss taken out of them, a bit of a laugh.
That's exactly it.
But they'll have a pint bought for them as well.
It is a shame. It is a shame. I'm sure me and Dave, as outsiders to Scousers as well, you feel that welcoming at times. It is a fucking disgrace. But yeah, I think we see in recent time Brentford, Brighton, maybe some newer established teams like that to the Premier League. They seem to be the ones that sound, but the ones that have been stuck in the Premier League and top division football for years, they're just, whether it's bitterness or just hatred from the 80s and Hillsborough onwards, it is vile stuff. Obviously, rivalry with United and stuff like that, it's gone overboard both ways with Hillsborough and Munich, etc. But it's just really odd. Like when you see like Newcastle fans doing it at times, like what the fuck? Newcastle should be sharing similarities with Liverpool.
There's so much in common. Liverpool,
Yeah.
Liverpool and Newcastle are so similar as cities in so many different ways, but I mean, they've only got one annoying team, but
again,
you know,
if anyone wants, I'll take you on a walk around Newcastle and I'll show you things that'll make your eyes bleed. So, you know where you're from, know what is the issues in your own city, and maybe worry about fixing them rather than having a couple of other cities.
And be grateful that you're not the people in your city that are in that position. Be grateful that you've got into a better position and maybe do something to help those who haven't, instead of being twats and Tories about it.
Exactly.
So don't complain when Liverpool fans
Tories in Manchester.
Don't complain when Liverpool fans fill up the food bank collection, do they?
No, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. They don't complain about these things. And again, I am sure there are Manchester City fans who've gone to that game today purely to enjoy a game of football, who have brought donations for food banks and are good people. But unfortunately, they're just outnumbered by scumbags.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, every Man City fan I know in real life is actually all right.
Same.
You know, but
I don't know any. Newcastle fans are sound that I know. We'll go with that. But we'll get back on the game. But yeah, it's so disappointing every time you hear stuff like this. Dave, I'll come back to you. If you want to go on about the overturned goal, feel free. But just after that, the 3 chances back to back. Jota misses a header. He seems to just jump a bit early, or he doesn't head it down. Then 4 or so minutes later, Fabinho picks up a yellow card. I'll pause with you there, because feel free to go over the chances and stuff like that, but that's kind of been what we've been missing as a team, is taking a bullet for the team. Because Fab's been guilty of himself, but you mentioned Henderson kind of not been doing that. Thiago even at times, who loves to tackle, and I'm sure your highlight of the game was his 2-footed one.
Yeah, no, that was the second highlight of the game. The actual highlight is there's a picture going around of Thiago kicking Haaland right in the nuts through his own legs.
He took your advice from pre-game.
Exactly, it's what I said to do. It's what I said to do. That yellow card was a really clever yellow card to take, and it is what we've been lacking. It is what Henderson should have done last weekend when Martinelli got a run on him. It is what Henderson should have done at Old Trafford for the second goal and for the first goal, mostly actually for the first goal. But it is something we have been lacking. But I thought the two in midfield, they were brilliant. And I thought, a lot of Fab's taken a lot of unfair stick because he's been let down over the last 12 months by having to do someone else's work. Today, he just had to do his own work, and I thought he was outstanding at it, including the yellow card. But you're right with the Jota chance. He just jumps a little bit too early. Otherwise, he's burying that. And as far as the goal goes, Bernardo Silva's had himself a big cry said that all we expect from referees is consistency. No, what you expect from referees is that they'll give you everything because you're a little cry arse. But if there was consistency from the referee, Mo Salah got dragged to the ground on 3 different occasions today. Once Rodri went through the back of him and pulled him down in the first half, and that led to a big City chance. The time that Klopp ended up getting sent off for, and there was another one earlier in the game as well, where he was just been dragged out of kind of around the halfway line. And like, none of these decisions get given. But when Haaland gets rightly done for fouling Fabinho, and then he fouled Alisson as well, they want to have a big cry about it. Bernardo Silva, he's a brilliant player, and we would adore him if he was ours, but I think he's the most unlikable player in the league. Genuinely, I think he's so unlikable, and I wonder if it's a little bit like when we had Suarez and we loved him and everyone else hated him because he just has a dislikable personality. Now, Bernardo Silva's not a patch on the player. As good and all as he is, he's not the level of Luis Suarez, but I do wonder if it's a bit like that, where they love him and we'd love him if we had him, but by God, he's easy to hate.
There's a few lads from Manchester that probably prefer to hate for different reasons, but we won't get into them today. They've got 1 each at the minute. Just to get another dig in there. What else have we got? There's another more chance cutting in from the right. He probably should pass to Jota. I think he had a chance to square it on his first chance as well, but you'd never expect Mo to pass on a 1v1 situation, do you, to be fair? Who else nearly exploded when number 11 came off on the subs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, what's going on?
Klopp looked really surprised when Salah came over, and he went over and had a little chat with him, and he turned around and looked, and he looked back at Salah, and he looked again, and then he must have said something, obviously, like, "Oh, it's not him. He's not coming off. Someone else is definitely coming off."
The defo paid the refs, like, got to get him off. He's going to win him the game. But it was really odd. The subs we did do then. Darwin comes on for Bobby, Carvalho comes on for Elliott, and Henderson comes on for Fab, who we just mentioned got a yellow card, so makes sense. Literally a couple minutes later, Dave, Mo Salah against the best fullback in the world, by all accounts. Pause for effect. Absolutely retires João Cancelo and just slots it past comfortably Ederson.
Yeah, I mean, I just... João Cancelo he's a really good player going forward. He is an absolute train wreck defensively. Like, he is defensively what people try and pretend Trent is, but Trent is a much better defender than him. Trent is a good defender. He just gets left exposed too often. This season he's been garbage. We know that. But in general, Trent is a good defender. But because Gary Neville doesn't like him, because he's kind of taking Gary Neville's crown as the best English right back in the history of the Premier League, even though Gary Neville was never much more than average, he has led that absolutely nonsense campaign about Trent, and I'd be really curious to see if he's got much to say about Cancelo, because that is about as bad as it gets. Like, that is absolutely shocking stuff. There is no reason for him to do what he does there. It makes it so easy for Salah. Now, Salah's an absolute monster. Like, he is so strong. When he, in the first half, he got that break down the right, he just sort of, like, Aki tried to swing out of him, and he just shoved him to the ground and just was on his way. He is so strong, and he used his body brilliantly. And once he got through one-on-one in that central zone, you just, after missing one chance, you knew he wasn't missing the second. And it is a great finish and a well-deserved goal. But what credit we have to give to Alisson, because they have a dangerous free kick. They load up. Everybody's forward. It's focus. You can see the conversations taking place. You can see Virgil barking orders and putting people where he wants them. Ball comes in. Ali catches it. And normally, you'd be in the pressure game like that, you'd be thinking, just slow it down. Just slow it down. Take as long as you can here out of the ball and let us get back into a normal shape. Let the right back get to right back, the left back get to left back, etc., etc. But he doesn't. He looks up and he spots Mo, and Mo times the run brilliantly as the ball comes out of Ali's hands onto his boot, Mo is crossing the halfway line, so he's onside as the ball is released, and his eyes must have just lit up when he realised it was Cancelo. Just bodies him, and it's an absolutely brilliant finish. And you know what really impressed me, and Lee Dixon spotted this in commentary as well. Half the team didn't rush forward to celebrate. The defensive players largely got back into defensive position and got barked at, and Virgil was barking at them. Then he walked forward and celebrated with Mo, but the rest of them stayed in position. They got their mind right for the game to restart and the focus to still be there, and it was huge because the danger was they'll be like a wounded animal now. They're going to be dangerous for the next 5 minutes, and we just managed to smother them for the next 5 minutes and really kind of kill any momentum they tried to build up. A couple of niggly little fouls, a couple of shirt pulls, a couple of moments where we just kind of kept the ball or drew a foul or whatever it was. I thought we managed the game so well in the immediate aftermath of that goal.
We absolutely did. But Jim, I mean, you jumped in there when Dave mentioned Ali. I think it's four seasons now. He's got an assist in 3 of them, and the other one he got a goal in. So, yeah, he's certainly a weapon of the good variety, isn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely a weapon for us, unlike the weapons in the City terraces. But yeah, he just has that vision, doesn't he? He knows what Salah can do with the ball as well. And I mean, I get what you're saying about, you're under pressure, so let's, the standard thing is bounce the ball a couple of times, tell people to get up, let everyone get back into position, pass the ball up and hope that they don't come straight back at you. Forget that. He can see the possibilities and off he goes. Rapper's old favourite word, possibilities. But that's what it was. It was a possibility there that Salah could do something, and Salah, boy, did he do something. I think just before that as well, there was a save from Ali that didn't get a lot of praise from the, lacking in praise, Manchester-ridden Sky commentary team.
MUTV.
Yes, that's basically what I must have had on, even though it said something else. It's not. It wasn't like a worldie by any chance, but it needed to be made, and yet it's it's like doing down the player who'd had the shot rather than giving some praise to the keeper. It's always very negative from those commentators, and it happens too much in football. Let's have more of the positives, and there were so many positives from us today, and that was definitely one of them. That Ali just had that vision, but Salah had the composure, not just to make sure he got that ball, but then to just go the rest of the way and show the keeper that this time he's not going to get, he's not going to get credit for a save because he isn't going to make one.
Exactly. And it's so good to see Mamo. We touched on it at the start, but having Mo playing in more areas, it's so good to see, because that experiment for the start of the season, whether he could have played better in that position or what, it's not really the question. It's just the fact we put him in these areas, scores a hat-trick in about 6 minutes against Rangers, and tortures the best team in the country.
Yeah, Mo's got his mojo. It's just what you need.
Absolutely. We're nearly towards the end of the game, on about 78 minutes now. Darwin, obviously just come on before the goal, has a nice run, draws a foul from Akanji, who I think this is when he got his yellow card. He should have probably been sent off, because we played advantage on 2 fouls from him. Thanks for that, Taylor. Fantastic defending by Van Dijk, Dave. I'm sure you want to mention that, but I'll ask you in pair with Thiago tries to murder Rodri, but Van Dijk. I think we all appreciated the coordination and coordination of the defence, but that header over his own bar is just probably the cherry on the cake for that.
Yeah, it's brilliant to react the way he did and to be in complete control of the situation. With most defenders, that's probably going in the back of their own net. But Thiago on Rodri is just brilliant. It's obviously he runs up to try and press him, and then slips and just goes right through the back of him, leads him in a big bundle. City players obviously begin to cry. Thiago is obviously making his case to the referee, I slipped, it is a bad foul, I slipped, blah, blah, blah. And City players come over to cry, and the disdain in which Thiago looks at them and then explains to them, listen, you lads are lucky to be even on the same pitch as me. is just I couldn't love him anymore, because you saw it in every kind of big moment in the game. He was the one up to the referee talking. It was the same against Arsenal. He was the one leading the council to make our case. When their disallowed goal was scored, he was the first one to go to the referee and explain to him what happened. And I think he carries enough gravitas that he can be a little bit more narky at referees without getting kind of in trouble for it. But like there was just a lovely hint of James Milner in the immediate aftermath of that foul on Rodri, where he turns around to the referee and he's like, it's an accident or whatever.
I'm 30. I'm 30 now, Anthony. You gotta let it go.
I've never been the quickest. I slipped. I'm old. I've got grey hair. Like, what do you want from me?
I shaved the hair off. It had to go.
And then he helps pick Rodri up. And I'm sure it just said to him, now you can tell your grandkids that I walloped you one day, and just gets back in position.
I'm taking your World Cup spot, Chief. No, fuck off. But don't go to the World Cup, because we kind of need you not to, Thiago. Jim, the moment Salah literally has his shirt taken off 3 times by Bernardo Silva. Klopp then makes a beautiful run up the wing to call the assistant referee a prick by imagination, and then gets sent off. I'm sure it wasn't even prick. I'm sure it was some angrier German word, but I don't. It will not get overruled, obviously, because Klopp can't. I'm doing air quotes for the purpose of the audio. He can't do that. But fucking hell, obviously Anthony Taylor didn't become the main story of this, but he could have become. But fucking hell, that is awful refereeing there. Unfortunately, he didn't really decide the game, as we mentioned with Oliver last week. But Jesus Christ, this was going on all game, and this was the most blatant and obvious. And for Klopp to get sent off for rightfully calling someone a bell end, it just seems really stupid to me.
I know, it's like if you'd said, like, well, you're inaccurate, he's not a bell end, he's just a knobhead. But he wasn't, he was a bell end, so he got it right. But why did Pep get no punishment whatsoever for basically trying to stop Taylor go to the screen for the disallowed goal?
Came up, and that was the second time, Jim. There was another moment in the game earlier than that where he came onto the pitch to protest something.
Yes, he did. You're right.
And how is he not sent off? At the very least, he should have got 2 yellows. One for entering the field of play, which he's not allowed to, and the other for the way he reacted as Taylor walked over to look at the camera. Because Pep had a great view of it. Pep knew it was a foul. So as soon as he saw Taylor walking over, he knew that goal was getting ruled out. That's why he reacted that way.
That's what I hate.
It was a foul.
I think there's a few times I've wanted to use this word tonight about Liverpool players, about players being honest players. And I think it's a massive thing in football. You've got players who, we joke about what we just said with Milner saying it was just an accident. Well, it kind of was, and this kind of thing. But they're generally honest players, and they generally, they're not going to claim things that weren't, they're not going to dive. If they fall over, it's because they got hit. Maybe they could have stayed on their feet, but they'll go down because they got hit. I don't think we've got any divers in the team. I think we've got players who are honest and a manager who's honest. And Klopp won't go and make a claim that he doesn't think is true. Yeah, I don't think you can say that about Manchester City as a team and as a coaching staff. I think they will try it on with referees. I think they will make things up. Silva, as you said over and over again, is not someone I would describe as an honest player. Sometimes an honest player is when he just goes and kicks someone early on and puts his hands up for it. In a way, Klopp took one for the team. He took a red card for the team, the way that we'd love to see our midfielders every so often taking one for the team, or our fullbacks taking one for the team, getting a yellow and stopping a break. I think it needed to be done. If anything, it maybe just woke the referee up into realising what he'd been doing. Perhaps it didn't, but I think the shame is it's not going to be overruled, and football will do nothing. I mean, Michael Oliver quietly didn't get a game this weekend after being shit last weekend, but nothing's said about it. The refs don't come out and say, oh, we're sorry, our ref was shit and we're going to give him no game this weekend as a punishment. We're going to send him on a course. Apparently he's not had a game this weekend. It might be wrong, but
I thought it would have just been like a Manchester United v Newcastle. He's from Newcastle, isn't he? But yes. I thought he just would have been on one of them Sunday untelevised games.
No, apparently he didn't get a game, but he was. I'm not sure if he was on VAR or fourth official duty, but he definitely didn't get a refereeing game from an article I read, and apologies if that's wrong, but he shouldn't have got a game after what he did. And this is another of the issues with football is everyone cocks up. Everyone makes mistakes. Sometimes people don't cock up because they're biased. I don't think referees are particularly biased, even when they're from Wythenshawe refereeing a Liverpool game. But they can be bad, they can be crap, they can miss things, make bad decisions, they can let things go that they shouldn't go, they can be inconsistent. So when they are those things, they should be called out for it, they should be punished for it in some way, and they should be able to sort of learn from that and make sure it doesn't keep happening, because we shouldn't be talking about them. I'm sick of talking about referees after games. I think one thing I did say last weekend was, what Liverpool mustn't do after the Arsenal game is go away and think, this referee was crap, it's all because of the referee, this is why we didn't win, all because of the referee. Yeah, the referee played a massive part in us losing in that game, but this happens. Football is like that. Referees are shit, and you've got to pick yourselves up and go and get a goal despite the referee being shit. And that's what we had to come with, and I think we did that today. We saw a shit ref, we carried on and carried on and carried on, and we kept that clean sheet, and we got that goal. And whether it was Taylor's best efforts or worst efforts, he didn't win the game for City. But he tried, though, I think.
He absolutely bloody did try. Yeah, I think you summed that up there perfectly, Jim. A couple negatives to end the game. Well, one negative and then one annoyance. Dave, you were a big advocate of signing Darwin. I think he just needs to calm down a smidgen, because he probably could have ended the game with 2 assists there, especially the first one, because I think he was it to Moore? I can't remember who he didn't pass to. But the second one, he tried to pick out Trent at the back post and should have really passed to Carvalho, in my opinion. But Darwin could have put the icing on the cake at the end there and just seemed to pick the wrong choice both times for me.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely picked the wrong choice the first time. He should have passed it to Mo. I think his eyes just lit up a little bit, but he should have slotted Mo in. The second one, I actually thought he made the right choice. I just thought he overhit the pass just ever so slightly. But like, he was giving Trent a tap in. He just hit the ball a little bit too hard and Trent couldn't quite catch up. But like, he ran them ragged when he came on. And I'm seeing people say he was shit. I get that he made the wrong decision on that first one. You can argue he made the wrong one, the second one. I think it was the right one, but whatever. Either way, he didn't execute it the right way. But like, he ran a kanji round the place. They couldn't. His hold-up play was good. His link play was pretty good. Well, now I say link play. He played one pass, and he completed his only pass of the game. But I thought his hold-up play was good. His running the channels was good. I thought he was active and aggressive in what he was doing. He closed down their centre-backs a couple of times. And he caused them a lot of trouble, which, you know, that's what you put him out there for. You put him out there to go out and cause them problems. So, yeah, look, he's really raw. And we knew that before we signed him. But if you can't see the talent that lad has and the physical attributes the lad has, I don't think this is the game for you. That's the best defence in the league, other than our own, for the last 4 or 5 years. He monstered them in the Community Shield when he came on. He's come on and caused havoc tonight, or this afternoon rather. Like, it'll take time. It's a process. Good for us. He's going to score an awful lot of goals.
Yeah, I hope so. I think you just got to get the, to use a FIFAism, chemistry with the front lads, and obviously we know he's still learning the language and stuff like that.
Yeah, just going to say quickly as well with Nunez as well. I think one of the things people were unhappy with about his decision was that he didn't go to the corner and just waste some time. But that's not in his DNA, I don't think. He can only see that goal, and that's as you say, he's raw. He needs to work on that, but he's got his eyes pointing in the right direction, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I was going to word it. Sadly, we might see more of Darwin, but that sounds disregarding Darwin. But Jim, the game ends with Jota, who put in a monster shift, to be fair, in probably a position that's maybe not suited to his attacking abilities, but he put a shift in, and it looks like his hamstring went, or something in that area of his leg went. Obviously the World Cup being 5 weeks away now, if it's that, he may miss that for Portugal, but more importantly for us, he's going to miss about 1 million games, seeing as we play every 5 minutes. It's just, especially in that area of the pitch, we just had Diaz pull up with an injury. It's so sad for him, but I'm not sure what we're going to do in that area of the pitch now.
No, it's. I mean, Carvalho's not ready. You know, if you sort of even think about players that you can move around and stuff like that, I don't think Carvalho's ready to. He's learning his trade still at this level, I think, and he's going to be a good player eventually, and he's going to get his confidence. But you know, he's kind of been a sort of almost unsung hero the last few games. I mean, there's not that many mentions of the fact that Salah's hat trick against Rangers were all Jota assists, things like that. You know, he's done. He's kind of got into that situation that strikers get in, where everyone is saying, when did he score last time? When has he scored? As if that's the be-all and end-all of what being a striker is. Klopp's not asked who gets the goals as long as we get the goals. And his work in what's really has been a new position for him in terms of what he's done for us has been tremendous. He's an excellent signing. He's one of our, we talk about some of the great signings we've had, and he's one of them. And it's just a shame to see him do that. He did look like he'd stretched. He was just doing that little bit of overstretching to get the ball. It was just sort of quite innocuous. But, this was sort of probably, trying to think where we were. We were probably 96 minutes into the game by then.
Yeah.
Well into injury time. Where
did 6 minutes come from, by the way?
Well, was it the disallowed goal? And
but there was only one. There was only one. There was two sets of subs because we did 3 then 1, didn't we?
Wasn't Ederson injured for a couple of minutes as well?
Ederson got hurt. The disallowed goal, the Klopp red card, the first bang of subs that we made, bringing on Trent, and they brought
Taylor
on
Tax,
Julian Alvarez, well. And we scored.
Maybe it's not as bad.
So I think 6 minutes was about right. To be fair,
I actually predicted 7. Yeah, I predicted 7 because I thought Taylor would at least add. I thought he should be 6 at the most, but Taylor will add another one on at least.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, though, I think because Jota went down with maybe 30 seconds of that. I'm guessing now. I wasn't in the situation to remember times that much, but I'm sure we had maybe 30 seconds of that 6 minutes left, and we played another 2 minutes when we kicked off. So I think it went on for nearly 100 minutes in the end.
Yeah. Well, at least we escaped Taylor and Man City. But I mean, final thoughts from you then, Dave. I'll start with you, and plugs if you want to plug anything.
I have to say there was not 1 second of that game, right up until the final whistle, where the preeminent thought in my mind wasn't, "I take a draw here." Even 1-0 up, last couple of seconds of the game, I was thinking, if they score, I'm not going to be too upset because I would have taken a draw beforehand. Because I did think we were going to lose. I didn't see that performance in us, given how bad we've been in recent weeks. Obviously, when you see Milner picked it right back against Foden, who had absolutely rinsed him a year ago, that's a big concern. But like I said at the start, I thought our lads were absolutely excellent today. I thought the 2 boys down the right, Milner and Elliott, worked incredibly hard. The same with the 2 boys down the left. The 2 boys in the centre midfield, I thought, were brilliant. The centre-back partnership, that's the partnership that largely won us the league. And they look like they play together every single week. They were just so confident. And they stopped that massive freak from scoring a goal. And not just that, I mean, what chances did he really have? He had the one where he tried to chip Ali, which is a half chance at best. He had the header that was straight at Ali, and he had 1 shot in the second half that Ali made a good save from. Ali came up big when we needed him to come up big, even though he wasn't forced into any great saves. He made some good saves, and he made them very confidently. And obviously he gets another assist, which is a hell of an effort. I thought 1 through 11, the starting 11, all ran themselves into the ground and played really well, especially off the ball. The subs, when they came on, they just did their jobs. All we ever ask is that these players just do their jobs. And Darwin came on, he stretched the field, he worked them, he kept them guessing and created 3 chances in the game. Carvalho was busy, replicated what Harvey had done off the ball, got himself involved on the ball. Henderson, when he came on, didn't go ball chasing, didn't abandon position. He was getting called back into position, and he was getting back into position. He did exactly what was needed of him. And that type of role suits him more, because That's 20 minutes to go on and empty the tank. Go on and give us everything in your legs for 20 minutes. Fuck managing yourself through games. Go on and burn your energy for 20 minutes. That's all we need from him from now on. And he did it when he came on. I thought Trent, when he came on, had one iffy moment at the end with Foden, but nearly got a goal. And you know, great to have him back at the very least. And hopefully he's good to go for West Ham. And obviously then Costas comes on and the game is practically up. But his hair looked good, I suppose, just to say something nice about him. All our lads today got it right. Klopp got it right. I really did think Milner was a bad decision, but he absolutely nailed it. And Milner had, like I said at the start, the best game he's had since the year we won the European Cup. He was really, really good today. And look, we're not winning the league. We're 14 points behind Arsenal. We do have a game in hand. That brings it to 11, but that game in hand is away to Chelsea, which will be tough. However, if we win that game in hand, we go 5th. So as bad and all as it was to be 12th before kickoff today, if we win our game in hand, we're 5th. And we're only 3 points behind Chelsea, which is easily catchable, you know. So there is a spot in that top 4 absolutely for us. We showed last season that we can string a really long unbeaten run together, that we can string runs and runs of wins together. And we just need to get back to doing that. It doesn't have to be pretty. Today we weren't pretty. The football, there was some really good football played. Now, we had a couple of lovely moments down the left of interplay, a couple of good moments down the right. That Virgil long ball out to Milner. Milner played it back and it got worked through, and it led to the Robbo chance in the end. Like, that was a really nice move. We can mix that in, but we've got to just continue to do the basics. And that's all today was. Basic, fundamental football. Defend, midfield protect, wingers up and down, strikers press your man, work your man, and when you get a chance, take it. That's all we did today. And what a result. What a performance. They're the best team we've played this season. They're better than that group we played last week. And they were better today than Arsenal were last week. We were just really good today and really bad last week. And the referee, when he was told to go and look at his monitor, went and looked at his monitor. He had a shambles of a game, the referee. Shambles. Which is no surprise given where he's from. And he shouldn't be allowed to referee their games. I think everybody's aware of that. But he went and he looked and he made the right decision in the end. So, you know, fair play. But I just saw a stat from Brundish. I'll see if I can find it here quickly. It's fouls, basically how many times. Yeah, so Mo Salah has been fouled every 89 times he touches the ball over the last 5 seasons. That's when a free kick is actually given. For Jack Grealish, it's every 22 times. For Kane, it's every 26. For Sterling, Kane every 24. Sterling every 26 and Rashford every 31. Does anyone really think that Jack Grealish is fouled more often than Mo Salah? I would like to see Liverpool get one of the analysts to go back over the last 5 years and find all the examples of where Salah has very blatantly been fouled and not got the decision.
That's a World Cup job for Kennett, I reckon.
Yeah, but put it out there on social media. Because there's no point in sending it to PGMOL. But put it out there on social media and show what happens. Like that Bernardo Silva foul, he swings out of him.
It's the most blatant thing I've ever
pulls
seen.
him down.
Yeah.
The Rodri one, he comes right through the back of him. That could have been a bad injury. Like, it's outrageous to treat.
Wasn't the assistant right near that last one, though, as well?
Beside it, Jim.
It wasn't like he was on the opposite side of the pitch.
He was right beside it, Jim, and he saw it. He has to have seen it. Now, I get that Taylor was trying to let the game flow, and there was a couple of moments where, you know, Bobby bundled into Rodri and sent him on his arse, and some referees definitely would have given a free kick there. There was one with Fabinho where he knocked someone over, and some would have given a free kick there. But like, there's allowing the game to flow, and then there's simply allowing players to cheat, and he was allowing their players to cheat. So, you know, they can cry all they want, but the better team got the result they deserved today, and we'll very gratefully take those 3 points, and we'll move. And we've got West Ham up next, so that'll be a difficult game. but again, it's at home, so hopefully the crowd are well up for that on Wednesday night. Then it's Forest early next Saturday, the 12:30 kickoff. So fingers crossed we can go into that one and get a win. And if we win it, get those 3 wins in a row, and all of a sudden things start to look much, much brighter. Then it's Leeds at home, a game we absolutely should win. Spurs away, that's going to be really tough. Southampton at home is a game we should win. And then it's the World Cup break. Now, I know we've got European games in between, but
if we
really
beat,
need 1 point from
Ajax,
the last 2 games in Europe. Beat Ajax, get a draw against Ajax, and we're through. We don't need to worry about Napoli.
All the under 23s.
Once we get through that, and then it's November 12th is the day. Get through to then, and then you can just sort of. We might have a cup game. It's Derby. It's like the Derby on the 9th. So I mean, you're not playing the first team in that game. Derby on the 9th, Southampton. Win both those. Beat Leeds. Beat Forest, beat West Ham, get a point against Tottenham. That'll be a good result. Get a point against Ajax, and that's it. We go into that World Cup break. We'll be in decent form. We'll have got the ship righted. We'll be through in the Champions League, through in the League Cup. And when we come back in late December, hopefully things are back to normal and everything is rectified. And Mo will be well rested, and hopefully Thiago will be well rested. And unfortunately, Reece James and Kyle Walker are injured, so Trent might have to go to this bastard in the World Cup. But at least Robert's staying at home, Konate's staying at home, Gomez is staying home. I'm making the shout now. James Milner starting right back for England in the World Cup.
Yes, please.
As for me, two-footed every day except Wednesday this week. I won't be around Wednesday, and Daily Red every day as well. And there'll be a scouted for the West Ham game, and then there'll be a scouted for the Forest game. Although we might do the 2 of them in one go, because the week is a little bit condensed for everybody. So we'll see how that works.
And just saying, Carl is on the next 3 Raws, so if we lose, we know who to blame.
It's all on him. All on him. And I'd like to remind everybody, while I did pick a City win, he said City was scoring 5 today. So make sure you let him know all about that.
He put the fear of God in me against Ajax as well. He did chatting shit. But Jim, it looks like your next Raw is Leeds, so obviously Scouser Tommy's in the meantime. Anything planned? Obviously you had the one on Friday as well, but anything planned other than that as well?
Yeah, we just try and get together when we can to talk about what's going on, Jay and I. And, I think the thing with Scouser Tommy's as well is that we just kind of give a feel for what it's like around here. We sort of sometimes get to hear things and see things that aren't always apparent in the obviously never ever biased media. And, it's just our take on all things Liverpool. So hopefully Jay and I'll get together before the end of the week. Something else in the pipeline, which I'm hoping we can talk about soon. I'm not sure we're up to talking about things, so let's keep it a nice secret until we're ready. Lots and lots of content. We need to keep thinking it's content because the games are coming thick and fast, but we like to talk about them, don't we? It's the games are one thing, but talking about them is another. I'm delighted with the way Liverpool play today, and I'm sure that Jay and I will be saying that when we do get to record. It might be after the West Ham game, which is the other worry then, because let's face it, I think at times today we put in like the performance of like an Istanbul kind of performance. We gave it everything. We threw everything on the line. In the end, it was a bit too much for Jota because look at what happened to him with his hamstring. Apparently, it's difficult to put that kind of performance in and then come in on Wednesday and do it again. But who cares? I think there's this ability. I was worried about the team before kick-off. I did wonder in midweek whether Klopp had made the change where he moved Gomez to the centre and Milner at right back, whether this was a little trial run for something. But I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to be the trial run for today. But I did think it might have been a little bit of a trial run just to, if needed, if players sort of take ill and we are struggling at centre-back a little bit with other injuries and so on. So it's interesting and it worked. And I think asking Milner to play 90 minutes every game might be a bit much. I agree as well, just quickly on what Dave said on Hendo playing the late of a game. I think we should have done that with Steven Gerrard. When Gerrard was coming to the end of his time as a player, instead of trying to find a new role for him at the, in a more defensive, less active role, if you like, how much of a difference would it have made to just have him playing some games for 60, some games the last 20, 30, and having an impact from the bench? I mean, I know he wouldn't have been keen on it, but the managers are managers for a reason. They've got to manage players in that situation. But that's in the past. Hendo maybe playing that role is maybe in the future, and maybe that's what we need. So many good signs today, so many good promising moments, so much for us to talk about. So, yeah, looking forward to the next Scouser Tommy's, looking forward to the next game. Sorry I can't be on Raw for a bit. But, if it does get bad, give us a shout.
It's only sorry if Cal Matchett bottles it. It's only sorry that... we're going to see Trent at left mid. That is the experiment for next week. But that has been Raw. I presume Trev will be back, but if it's not, it might be me. But I don't see a reason, unless his TV's still in the shop. But thank you, everyone, for listening.
Oh, I have news on this. Sorry. Before we go, I have news on this. So I spoke to, as you know, I'm the investigative journalist here at Anfield Index and Anfield Index Pro, and I'm the bringer of truth to these podcasts. So I contacted some of my sources in the greater Navan region. And so I have actually a blow-by-blow account on how Mr. Downey has hurt his back today. So apparently, as you know, Trev is hooked in with the right people to get team news quite early. And upon hearing the news that James Milner was starting at right back, Trev, not wanting to throw the TV out the window during the game, threw it out the window at 11:30 this morning, got a shovel, hit it a few times, jumped up and down on it, drove the car over it 6 times, and then as stepping out of the car, slipped and threw his back out, and was last heard screaming in agony, lying in his own driveway. So that's why Trev could not be with us on this wonderful, joyous day.
And now he looks silly. Absolutely silly. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Journalist, Dave. We'll almost call it Mr. Pierce, just to piss you off at the end there. But thank you, everyone, for listening. Goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.